Hey everyone, Bob Perkins here with the aa-isp Inside Sales Studio. Hey, look, I'm traveling cross country. I left Arizona to get out of the heat. I'm in New York and it's freezing, right? And raining. You guys are in Iowa. What's the weather like in Iowa?
It's rainy. We have a lot of rain. The farmers are having trouble getting their crops planted. That's what's going on in Iowa right now.
Well, at least it's not a drought, so that's the good news. But it'll probably be a good year for the Minnesota mosquito, the state bird, the mosquito. Anyway, hey, look, you guys, it's great to have you. Zach Leidigh. Zach is a business development manager at Infinity. Ryan McDonald, director of Leidigh. Infinity is a great partner and sponsor of the aa-isp. You guys do some great stuff internally as practitioner leaders at Infinity with well over 100 salespeople on the phone. Today, you're going to talk about storytelling. And I'll tell you, to set this up just a little bit, I think we have a crisis with, we're hiring so many less experienced people today than we ever have just to fill the seats. And they don't walk in with great communication skills often, right? And we need to train them. So you're going to talk about one aspect of that, storytelling, which really can help in all aspects of sales engagement, of discovery calls, of prospecting. So I'm going to turn it over to the two of you and let you get started, and let's have a great interview today.
All right. Well, and again, Bob, thanks for having us here, and we're excited to talk about this. You're absolutely right. When we train people, when we hire people, that's what we run into a lot is, people have a lot of desire, but they don't necessarily have all of the skills that we need them to have. And one of the most important skills that a salesperson can have is the ability to tell a good story.
Yeah.
And what we train, obviously we train on product knowledge and features and benefits, and you learn all of those things. And of course, those things are important.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you're not really going to sell anybody by just reading a list of features.
If it was that easy, anybody could do it.
Yeah, right, exactly. If only it was that easy, we'd be reading magic bullet scripts and they would just read them and we'd all magically make all the sales in the world. But what we teach our salespeople is that they have to create interest. They have to create urgency. It's not just enough that they want it, but they have to want it now. But the most difficult part of all of that is that we have to actually compel action. And in our experience, the best way to actually compel action for your prospects and your customers is to paint a picture. And the best way to paint a picture for them is to tell a very descriptive story.
Right, I agree. And storytelling, right, it's been around since before recorded history. And it was the way that humans used to pass information along from generation to generation. And so it's been effective a long time. But to apply this to the inside sales world, I think this is something every sales professional challenge they can relate to would be when they put down what they deem to be a great, in their mind, great presentation or pitch to a stakeholder who then takes that presentation and goes to the decision maker, relays it, and ultimately they find out down the line that they're not going to sell. Well, you maybe can connect those dots, maybe you don't, but the point is that not always did the sale die, but what we found is most of the time the story actually died.
Yeah, you said something, paint a picture. Now, I love that term for two reasons. One, me as a salesperson can paint a picture. When you paint a picture, you're telling a story, right? On the flip side, if I'm doing a discovery, I can ask my prospect, my client, hey, do me a favor, paint a picture for me. Right. So in the discovery, I'm asking the prospect, tell me a story of your current challenges, your situation. So you can use it both ways, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you think about telling a good story, right, whether you were thinking back to when you were a kid and you were being told a bedtime story, or maybe now you like to watch different movies or TV, the point is that all stories kind of have the same elements if you really think about it. Right? There's the hero stage, which otherwise referred to as a protagonist. Now, the key is the customer views themselves as the hero or the protagonist, and you put them in that position.
I like it.
The next step to a story would be some sort of adversity, right? And so you create that, and ultimately that leads us to the next stage of or element, of a story, which would be the guidance. And the guidance can be more than likely, like a hero's journey would be some sort of special weapon that the hero's provided with and to face and combat that adversity. That's your product, right? That's your service you're offering, and they use that to overcome their challenge and adversity, and ultimately the moral of the story in the end is they triumph and are victorious with your product and service that you've allowed them to.
So this is really good. The components of a good story, and I'll try to repeat it back to you. You said, you know, the hero could be the leader that, let's say, you're speaking to, the prospect, the person that's in charge of overcoming this adversity. The adversity is really kind of restating or reframing what their challenge is. Maybe let's just kind of, you know, role play here a little bit and create an example. Let's say the hero, the leader, says, look, I got a lot of new reps, and for some reason, I can't develop them. I need some help with coaching and development. I'm struggling. That's my adversity, is getting these people up to speed a little bit faster. And maybe the guidance is, maybe you're selling a coaching app, let's say, right? A call recording coaching app. So that's kind of your solution. How might you frame that into a little bit of a story that then leaves that person as kind of the hero to overcome this? Give me an example.
I think the best example that you could use in a situation like that is, you know, first you have to do a good discovery, just like you talked about. You know, that's probably one of the other lost arts of our business is
Agree.
Something we tell to our salespeople a lot about is that you have to learn before you can teach.
Love it.
You know, in order to be able to position our special weapon, you know, in this case, a coaching app, you know, with that customer, we have to understand exactly what their needs are, what their wants are. You know, we have to have them tell us a little bit of the story, just like you said.
Yeah.
And so in that specific example, what I would do is I would position this as a unique tool, and I would give them several specific examples of how other people have used this to overcome the adversity that they run into. We specifically call this technique a bandwagon technique.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, people want to do what they perceive other people doing. And in the business world, it's especially prescient because, you know, every business is a little bit paranoid that somebody down the street is doing something they're not, and is going to ultimately run them out of business. You know, that may be an oversimplification a little bit, but that exists with virtually all businesses. And so, you know, one of the stories that you can tell is how other businesses that are in the same market that they are have utilized this special weapon, in this case, again, a coaching app, to overcome adversity and be the heroes of their corner of the market. And when you do that, it really brings it home for that customer, because not only you're really doing two different tactics there. One is you're painting a picture and you're giving them the guidance on how to achieve that market superiority, if you will. And then the other thing that you're doing there is you're really giving them the path on how to do it, right? So at the end of the day, you know, you're drawing a line between, you know, what they're doing now and what other businesses are doing to achieve that, and ultimately you're helping them to arrive at the same conclusion, that they can be the hero of their own story.
This is really good. I was taking some notes here when you were speaking. I'd like to just summarize, and I'd like the viewers that are watching this to comment, right? We're going to get this posted, comment on this, but if there's only 3 things you took away today that I wrote down that I took away is, number 1, learn before you can teach. My goodness, the sales reps today rush to the solution. I call that keep it in the bag, right? Back in the day, salespeople carried a bag, right? In the briefcase, the bag they had stuff, a solution, slicks. That's a term I haven't heard in a while. Brochures, right? But they keep the solution in the bag. You say learn before you can teach. To me, that's discovery. Make sure you do that. And then paint a picture. This is a beautiful thing. Whether you paint it for them, you ask them to paint it for you. And then the last one I wrote down was bandwagon. I love this term. Similar to that is I like the term peer voice, which is very similar to bandwagon, which means tell these little stories about other people that are in similar situations. Just last month, we engaged a sales leader that, you know, had a team that he couldn't coach, didn't have enough time to coach. Here's what he or she did. Here's the outcome. This was very good, guys. I really appreciate you coming on. Any last comments out to the viewers before we wind up here?
keep listening to Bob. He knows what he's talking about. So, when he speaks, you should probably listen.
I learned it all from you today, for sure. Paint a picture. Learn before you teach. Use the bandwagon technique. This is great. If you're watching this, please comment. Guys, Infinity, tell us, just last 30 seconds, tell us what Infinity does and how they can help our inside sales community.
Yeah, so we're a sales agency who outsource to big, large Fortune 500 companies, and basically are their sales service in some sort of fashion. We provide them with data analytics, market feedback, all sorts of things. So, yeah.
That's great. Yeah, go ahead.
Plus, we spend a 7-minute video just on explaining our elevator speech. So,
well, I'll tell you, there's a lot of outsourcers out there. It's a growing need in our community, but I can tell you guys are right on top of things when it comes to your sales people at Infinity if you're going through this process. So, hats off to you. We'll see you at a future aa-isp event. Thanks a lot, Ryan, Zach, Infinity. Everyone have a great day. Until next time, good selling.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Bye-bye.